Anons and beautiful Patriots, welcome. Q Army. You guys ready? Let me hear you. There you go. On the daily, we bring the booms. Shady Group. Glorious Republic of the United States, actually of America, I should say. Wow, we had a great birthday yesterday. Thank you very much for the birthday wishes for Mama Matrix. We had a good time. It is 1:06 p.m. on the East Coast. It is May 28th. And welcome my partner in justice, Shady Groove.
Well, I am so glad to hear that Mama Matrix had a wonderful birthday. Happy birthday to her and to you guys out there. Thank you for joining us. We have quite the show in store for you today. Q is on fire as normal.
Oh my gosh, Shady. Q is on fire. We're going to get to that as well. There's a lot of fires going on right about now, Shady.
Yes, there are, all across the board.
Oh, and let's see. My name is Dee. It is her mom's birthday today, so happy birthday. Happy boom day. Look at this, Shady. I just wanted to start off with this. Look what was spotted in Panama, Florida. Panama City, Florida, Shady.
It is beautiful.
Look at that. What is that?
Oh, it looks like Q Army to me, my friend.
Is that you guys?
That's them.
That's us. And that's the Great Awakening. Also, it's a digital billboard. There's the one where we go one, we go all, like with just the WWG1 WGAs. And then it's spelled out, just in case you don't know, where we go one, we go all, whoever put this billboard up. And then we had another amazing, we have a Q drop too. We have another amazing Patriot that went out and confirmed that it said Q Army on it, folks.
We got confirmation.
Yeah, and that's from, who is that, Shady? That is Hat Tip Shift Worker 1976. Thank you, sir. And let's go see what we got over here. What do we got over here, Shady? There we go. Let's reload this. I just like to hear it.
Is that mine or yours? I'm trying to figure out.
Did I scare you guys? I hope I scared you guys.
We like to keep you on your toes.
All right, so at what point should this be reclassified as murder? Evil surrounds us. We already got that one, I thought. Or did I miss one? Interesting. Oh, no. Okay, so look. Okay, so he basically, New York Post, Town Hall. Okay, so now we got a New York Post article. Here it is right here. Nursing home have no rights to reject coronavirus patients. Everything's all flipping out on me here. So apparently New York's nursing homes...
If things feel uncertain...
weren't allowed to challenge a controversial order to admit patients with coronavirus. Governor Andrew Cuomo said Thursday, even though it's been blamed for spreading the deadly disease amongst residents. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, yeah, really amazing how he goes on the air and blames the president, and now we're seeing that he's deleted the mandate that he put out. Did you see that? He deleted it.
Yep, we have it all.
We have it all, my friend Cuomo. You're not running from this one, buddy. We got lots of questions now.
That's right. And what I like to do is I like to just quickly, let me grab this right here. At what point should this be reclassified as murder? And I'm going to tweet that article. I've been doing that lately, Shady, also adding them to the threads. But I've also been tweeting the article with what Q says.
And I'm noticing it's getting more interaction whenever it's not in the threads these days.
Correct. Yeah, the threads get no action. You guys don't even know. If you guys have, what do you call it? Like, you know, the notifications. You will not get a notification if I add to the thread. Yeah, so.
And just in general, the interaction between now and a year ago is... you know, it's calculated. You're seeing it go up, and then all of a sudden, it's back down.
Yeah, it is. It is. And but I want to also, I want to cover something right here too, Shady. Let me go to Twitter real quick, and I want to let you guys know that you know remember that we were at the whistleblower. Remember we had the whistleblower stage.
Yes.
So basically, and look at this. Look how cool this is. My tweets are being translated.
Oh, that is nice.
Isn't that amazing? That's translated into the Japanese right there, and that's amazing. Thank you, Q Army Japan. But check this out. You guys are here. Mission 9, censorship. How do we know that that's the case, Shady?
Well, because it seems like that censorship is on the agenda for today.
Yeah, and it looks like, Donald Trump is talking about Twitter, has now shown that everything we've been saying about them and their compatriots is correct. Big action to follow. Then we've got big tech is doing everything in their very considerable power to censor in advance of the 2020 election. If that happens, we no longer have our freedom. I will never let it happen. They tried hard in 2016 and they lost. Now they're going absolutely crazy. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for what? This will be a big day for social media and fairness. So now we're in mission 9, guys. You are at mission 9. Shady.
Yes, and it looks like that this would be the final mission of the plan to not only get Donald Trump reelected, but to save our republic. Remember that our discourse is so very important. It's so very important. I can't stress it enough for us to be able to freely speak. You can have your opinions about whether or not my opinions are valid, but I have the right to express them, including on social media platforms, and even whenever WHO and CDC do not agree with me. And as we're seeing, this is, we think of censorship, Matrix, and we think of like, oh, they take the information down. But what we just witnessed with the president and his tweet is they added alternative information to his tweet. Oh, here's another one.
Hello, Q. Got to get it all in before 1:30.
So they're saying they're redirecting to misinformation. So they put a tweet or a tag on the president of the United States tweet that directed you to information that is inaccurate. Okay, now think about that. They don't ever do this, but they did this in this case. Very important marker. It is very important for them, for you to stay in the pen, Matrix.
That's right. Absolutely. And we're not gonna. And so, if you look at that again, Q, this is amazing. Absolutely. And at what point should this be reclassified as murder? At what point is ignorance, common sense, no longer valid excuse? Evil surrounds us, Q. And we've got 3 of those now.
And think about that.
And look at this, Shady. I posted this a couple weeks ago.
Yes, and this is what happened. This is what people are really talking about. This is the news. The news is about the destruction of our citizens by the state. Okay, that's what they did. They did this intentionally. They're not going to be able to claim we're just too dumb any longer. Anons are too smart to absorb that these days.
That's right. Absolutely. I mean, and I make it so it's really a plea right now that we need to make to our, fellow people instead of attacking them. It's almost like whatever party you guys, your friends, your family want to consider themselves, their future is also at play too. This is not just Donald J. Trump. This is the elections, so we can have fair elections. So there can be candidates up there that we all vet together as people. And we as people have a fair, honest election with no rigging. And you have your candidate up there. I have mine, however it might want to go. It won't matter. This is for the future of our country, of our republic. There's so much criminality going on both aisles, folks, that has been exposed.
Both sides of the aisle. And that's exactly correct. And what we have to do is we have to understand, how do these people get there? Like, how does Andrew Cuomo, after his dad was governor, become the governor? How does Chris Cuomo end up on CNN? How do all of these people end up in these positions where they're at? And I would say very specifically, it is K Street. It is lobbying. It is who will take. The person who will take from the special interests are the people who are elevated. We have to somehow organize and create the special interest as being the American people and get together in our local communities and raise candidates up through committee. And then the cream, as so to speak, will rise to the top. The great people will be easily seen and heard.
Hey, Shady, go ahead and take it for a minute. I got 1 second, okay? I'll be right back.
Oh, no problem. But this is to me, this is what Q is saying to us, guys. He's trying to give us power. I think Q wants to give us power. Q doesn't want to do things for us. And so whenever we talk about what we're witnessing with our political candidates and how they're not functioning for you, remember, they are on every level, local, state, federal, not just the federal government. Your candidates matter because they're going to be making votes, and those votes affect you. And interestingly enough, we do not currently have a very transparent system for our representatives in Congress and for who they represent and what their votes were. So what we're suggesting is that along with getting rid of the K Street lobbying aspect to our government, we have to put in plans to see transparency in our government. I don't think there's anything more important than you, if you live in New Mexico, or if you live in Connecticut, or if you live in Vermont, or wherever you live. Isn't it interesting how difficult it is to find your Senate candidate and what it was that how they voted, or your House representative, what it was and how they voted? It's very difficult to find that information. What we need to do is set up transparency so that we can really begin to have an actual conversation about, are these people for the people being the republic, or are they for the globalists being the ones who don't like your constitution, they don't think it's valid, and they actually think that it should be scrapped, like I think Hillary said just 6 months ago. We should scrap it.
Yeah. They did declass partially already, Raylene. But people, so we got a protest right now about that fatal, that bad accident, that the police officer with the George gentleman. That is disgusting.
That's some sort of a spectacle that's going on. And again, I have questions.
I know. I got a air conditioning guy here, Shay, so I'm sorry. It's just been like a little different. Okay, so I stand with the people that want to get the police officer investigated and fired. We saw the tapes. If you watched Hannity, we saw the tapes. And then if you notice some of the things, they already had Antifa out there. They had signs already made in printing boxes. This is a George Soros funded thing to look over here. I mean, granted, this needs to be looked into. It needs to be dealt with. But what is that? Is that city, state? Is that a Republican state, city?
Nope.
No.
No, it's actually Minneapolis.
So, and one other question I have, and I'll pretty much just say, we stand with George and justice for that horrific display of corruption. Let me tell you. But one thing that did get me, Shady, is that the police plates were vanity plates that just said police.
I saw that.
So that just was weird. It could
Not
very,
good.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying question everything.
Yeah, and just the idea that someone would act in that way. I mean, I am pro law enforcement. I appreciate and love the people who decide to do that occupation. I know that it is most difficult and very unjust and low paying. Yeah. I get all of that, but what I saw on the actions of that human being was not police work. What I saw was close to murder.
Okay, so Mad Hatter said all Minneapolis police plates say police. If that's the case, okay. But, I still would like to see the sauce on that, but I get you. And that could very well be. Thank you.
But I would like to remind
But they can't tell you what unit it is. Like, my town had like M and then a number. They had
that's
different.
What I'm used to, too.
Yeah.
Like they're being numbered on front and back. But let's also remember where this is. And this is Elon Omar's district. And if you don't know, the I can't remember the name of the newspaper that's there, actually has a picture of her hanging in the office of the local city newspaper.
Wow.
So There are so many shenanigans going on there, and it's interesting. And I think that some of the activity, diversion, distraction activity that we're going to see over the next couple of weeks will be going down in democratically held districts.
Yeah, and look here, not there. I mean, here we have Adam Schiff's own copies of his interviews, and we see that they lied. Here we go, Mr. Q Team, the Q Team. We don't know if you're Mr. or Mrs. We just know that you are giving us some amazing information. And here we go. This is Perry.house.gov uploaded files. Perry calls for federal investigation. PDF. Dude. So at what point should this be reclassified as murder, and at what point is ignorance, common sense no longer valid excuse? Evil surrounds us, Q. And it looks like Perry here has a call for a federal investigation. May 14th. So
this was
go.
like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So this is the, I'm just trying to see. Oh, wow. Look at that. Scott Perry, member of Congress. Thank you, Mr. Scott Perry. Shady, do you want to read that real quick? Because that's...
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Dear Deputy Inspector General Cantrell. I respectfully request that the HHS Office of Investigations immediately commences an independent investigation into whether the Pennsylvania Department of Health interim guidance for nursing facilities during COVID-19 March 18, 2020 has contributed to an increase in COVID-19 infections and deaths in Pennsylvania nursing homes, assisted living, and elder care. The urgency of this request cannot be understated, as Pennsylvania has made clear that the interim guidance will remain in place even as other states repeal or revise similar policies in response to the inordinate number of deaths in these facilities. Instead of fairly and impartially assessing the impact of this guidance on the high number of deaths, the Governor Wolf announced a criminal investigation into the facilities themselves. His breathtaking failure to protect the most vulnerable population in Pennsylvania warrants an independent investigation. I implore you to begin such an investigation immediately. On March 18, 2020, Pennsylvania Department of Health published the interim guidance stating, nursing care facilities must continue to accept new admissions and receive readmissions for current residents who have been discharged from the hospital who are stable, to alleviate the increasing burden of the acute care setting. This may include stable patients who have had COVID-19 virus. The medical community quickly condemned this guidance as dangerous to the residents of these facilities. The American Healthcare Association, the AHCA, denounced the guidance and correctly stated that it will result in more people going to the hospital and more deaths. Unfortunately, AHCA's prediction has come to fruition. Since April 16, when the Commonwealth began releasing data specific to nursing homes, personal care homes, and assisted living facilities, infections within these facilities increased over 3 times the rate as those elsewhere, the number of cases rising more than 238%. The tragic loss of more than 2,600 older Pennsylvanians, nearly 70% of all COVID deaths in the Commonwealth, continues unabated. More concerning, this trend appears to be worsening, as in facility deaths have accounted for 74% of deaths since May 1. While other states repealed similar policies in light of widespread death, Governor Wolf allowed the suffering to continue. Attempts to bring transparency to the deteriorating situation in these facilities has been met with overt hostility from his administration, as it continues to keep Pennsylvanians in the dark. On May 12th, the Pennsylvania Attorney General announced a criminal investigation into nursing home facilities in the Commonwealth with regard to the death of residents. This development is particularly concerning due to its potential chilling effect on the willingness of facility operators and employees to speak out about the role of the PA Department of Health interim guidance in the spread of COVID-19 infections and deaths. The threat of criminal prosecution alone may be enough to ensure silence about the Commonwealth's role in this tragedy. The blanket attempt to obfuscate the governor's contribution to those deaths through intimidation is despicable and unjust. These developments warrant an outside investigation. Without a formal HHSOIG investigation, the true cause of the mass suffering and loss occurring in Pennsylvania's nursing homes will remain hidden. The families and loved ones of the people who have suffered and died deserve justice. Pennsylvanians deserve to know exactly what role their government played in the spread of COVID-19 infections and the resulting deaths in nursing home, personal care, and assisted living facilities across the Commonwealth. Most importantly, residents in these facilities across the Commonwealth must be protected from further undue harm as a result of Governor Wolf's policies. I respectfully request and urge a formal investigation into these matters as quickly as possible. I appreciate your time and attention to this vital matter. If you have questions, I will provide additional information. Let me know. Scott Perry, 10th Congressional District, Member of Congress.
Wow, I'm glad you read that, Shady. Wow.
Man, I mean, you can't imagine how upset people are, and they're being censored. You know, they're being censored in Pennsylvania. People are being shut up and not allowed to talk and pushed aside, and it's happening. You know, they know what's going on. People know what happened to their loved ones. It's not like they're just some random person. They probably are upset that their loved one has to be there to begin with, you know, and now they're seeing this. And now we're seeing different governors who moved their own elderly parents from nursing homes before they started moving COVID patients in.
That's right. And remember, the first COVID nursing home facility deaths were Evergreen Health in Washington State, Shady.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was like the first 40 or 50 COVID deaths were up here in Washington State and we found across the nation now, tons of them were at those facilities. Remember, they're all in like a little bit of a network. Not all of them are included, but a lot of the ones where the deaths came from are in the same network.
But was
the media
this setting the narrative, Shady, right? This was, I think, setting the narrative. Nobody got in trouble here at Evergreen for not using medical protocols for infectious disease control. They went and hugged their patients. They were with them, and they didn't do the right protocols. Nobody got in trouble for this, guys. Nobody. Doctors treating people with COVID. And these are their lessons learned.
Yeah, and especially out here, you know, the governors are covering up. The governors in these states, there's only a few states that all this is happening. We're going to be going through that. But the governor in Washington State is covering it up.
That's right. And, you know, I'm thinking too, Shady, that what's going to happen is, you know, the death numbers from the nursing home were for already underlying issues, hence the reason why they're already in the nursing home.
Yes, and Italy is revising their numbers tremendously, saying, I saw, and I don't know, I may be jumping the gun on this, but I did see an article yesterday that said 96% of the people who died in Italy had 2 or more underlying conditions that were claimed to be COVID death.
Yep, that is a Q post as well. Yes.
Oh, that was the article Q post. Okay,
yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, good. Yeah.
So let's go back real quick. Let's check. Q has not posted. Thank you for those amazing Q posts, Shady. I mean, we're now looking at this as homicide, murder, Shady.
It is murder. That's exactly what it is.
God.
I mean, really, dude. I mean, there's no other way to look at it.
Pretty sad, isn't it?
Pretty sad.
All right, so here we go. Let's just go over this one right here, Shady. This is 4323. This is from One Big Sister. I actually know her, Shady. I reached out to her and told her congratulations and missed her and everything, and she's awesome. So these people are stupid, is what this said. And let's just go to her Twitter. Here we go right here. This is what she said is just like QAnon told us right here. And it has the Catherine Herridge email talking about this right here with the executive order. Classification, prohibitions, and limitations. In no case shall information be classified, continue be maintained as classified, or fail to be declassified in order to 1. Conceal violations of law, inefficiency, or administrative error. 2. Prevent embarrassment to a person, organization, or agency. 3. Restrain competition, or 4. Prevent or delay the release of information that does not require protection in the interest of national security. Boom, guys. And we've got a new Q post, Shady. Did you hear it?
Is, you know, look at what's happening here. You know, they're trying to cover up, and this is the law. The law says you cannot classify things because it's embarrassing, and you cannot classify things because it protects specific agencies or companies. This has been the problem at the top of the DOJ and the FBI for decades now.
Look at this, Shady. USA total population 328 million. COVID-19 deaths 100,000. Lockdown. Japan total population 126 million. Condensed island. COVID-19 deaths 850. No lockdown. 2 plus 2 equal 5. Q.
Ooh, I thought 2 plus 2 was 4.
Well, it is, but they're trying to tell us it's 5.
I understand.
I was just playing with you. Oh my gosh. I was just playing the guy. So one big sis, congratulations to you. Miss ya, love ya. Here we go. This is another one. These people are sick, and this goes to Lila Grace here. And this is, where's the outrage, Shady? Where is the outrage for this? Multiple Planned Parenthood officials have admitted under oath to trafficking the body parts and organs of babies they slaughtered. These are criminal acts. Where's the outrage, guys? And where's Jack for censoring all this stuff that is now true? Where is the outrage, Shady?
I tell you, the outrage would be there if anyone knew. You know, I mean, this is really huge. Even I think it was Veritas that had the video of one of these 6 that are right here, but she was all claiming that, you know, she was trying to get a Lamborghini from selling parts of children.
And we had that a couple years ago, yet we allow it to continue?
Yep.
All right, guys. So under oath, now admitted, get that out there. Where's the outrage? I don't care who you are. I don't care what party you're affiliated to. They're selling parts, guys.
And also, they're selling all kinds of it. They are engineering vaccines from this stuff. They are using it for makeup. They are using it for skincare products. They're using it in Pepsi. They're using it in other fast food. Guys, this material is everywhere in your society. I hate to say it, but it is everywhere.
Wow. Do you think it's in that impossible meat?
I absolutely think it's in the impossible meat. I think it might be a large portion of that. And also, I think that it's in pharmaceuticals. I think it's in vaccines. And I think it is in antibodies.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's in our food too, Shady. Why don't you take this one here?
All right. This one right here, I think it was 4325 with the American flag. And I'd like to bring you guys to attention that we're noticing the file names on these pictures are not consistent. So the file names are changing with different number sequences. Q says, D's in coordination with domestic and foreign assets have launched, as known, a full-scale insurgency attack against the people of the United States in an effort to regain power by any means necessary. All assets deployed. Current landscape, coordinated and deliberate events to impact, rig, election, war. The future of our republic is at stake. Survival as a nation. We rise or we die. We the people. Q.
Wow. So that's why we've got to rise, guys.
We have to be heard.
We can wrap that one. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to rap again. I promise.
With the Cappy rap?
No, with my, what was it? The COVID mask rap?
Yeah.
The COVID mask. All right, so this is the flag again. It's a beautiful flag, isn't she? Isn't she gorgeous? So yeah, guys, you know, these are coordinated and deliberate events right now to impact and rig the election, folks. This is war. All assets are deployed. In fact, Shady and I were re-attacked again last night.
They're coming back at us too.
Yep. So you know, if you're catching flack, you're over the target, in my opinion.
From all angles, really.
Yeah, I know, right? All angles. You know, we got So basically, we're in for one hell of a show, Shady.
I love a good show.
And then we got this one from the Washington Times. Australian researchers see virus design manipulation. Huh.
Another suppressed news story.
Really? A forthcoming Australian scientific study concludes that the coronavirus causing the global pandemic contains unique properties suggesting it was manipulated in a Chinese laboratory and was not the result of a national occurrence. Shady.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Lindsey Graham has been telling me for months this came from a wet market. He's sure.
He's positive?
He was positive that this came from the Chinese wet market, that it didn't come from any lab, that they didn't know human transmission.
But Shady, the lab was like just a few miles away.
Well, that doesn't matter.
So look here, not there?
Yeah, I mean, it came from the wet market. and also, Kim Jong-un I'd be surprised if Kim Jong-un was alive.
Right. Yeah, and he's alive. We trolled him, didn't we? Or
Yeah,
the Q team, the White Hats.
But we do have supposedly we have a date set for Rod Rosenstein to testify in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. That's June 3rd.
Our troubles.
We got some testimony. Maybe we'll get in here and cover it live.
We cover it. Oh boy, we'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
So that's that thread right there, guys. It was a short one. He came in at I think it was pretty late too, and did a few posts there. By the way, guys, if you guys aren't on Patreon, right there's the link for Patreon. If you guys want to support us, we'd really appreciate it. We have been demonetized here on Twitter, and we would really, really appreciate your support. Thank you guys very much for all your support, and the ones that are already supporting us and getting the benefit of cruising over to the QRME Plus server in Discord, guys. So $10 or donation, we'll come hang out with you and get to know you guys. It's been amazing. Thank you all. And if you guys are in that server, press 17. Those are all the ones that we want to definitely
we
thank.
used to have it to where they were identified, where we had them in green, and it was so beautiful in here. We had all the emojis, and people couldn't see what was going on. But very interesting, Matrix, how our channels take such hits and other channels just keep on rolling.
Yeah, it is amazing. Our channel does, though, help get people elected. Joe Ray Perkins. Our channel helps get movies, and documentaries, 1 million views in overnight. Our channel's been doing a lot of stuff, Shady, that's been pretty much, ignored.
I've noticed this.
You noticed that, huh?
I did.
Huh. Interesting. I don't know why.
I keep working.
We'll keep working. We will. And remember, you are here. Mission 9, censorship. Should we just talk about that real quick, the attacks that are intensifying, Shady?
You can go in whichever direction you'd like to go, my
friend.
friend.
And then we'll go into the next set of Q posts. But Q is absolutely right. Let me see. Planned Parenthood, or Planned and Organized. Oh, yeah, here's your thread. Where did I do? USA, Japan. Where we go when we go all. Joe Ray. Oh, this is winning right here, guys. Joe Ray. Republican backers largely stand with Senate nominee Joe Ray Perkins despite QAnon controversy. Now, don't let that article get you mad. She loves us.
That was from Oregon Live.
Oregon Live.
And the person that wrote the article has a bit of the TDS, but at the same time, it's news.
It's news. It's news. And that's...
You are the news now.
Yep, and ABC and Daily Mail have commented that she was on a QAnon, what is it? Popular QAnon YouTube channel. And that's here, guys. They won't mention what that YouTube channel is because they don't want you to see it.
I thought about it, sending him a DM and asking him if he has any. We're like, what's wrong with quoting the place where you're taking the quotes from?
Right. So here's John Reese John _. And these are apparently I have ulterior motives for Anons, guys.
Yes.
Right?
Wait,
no. I don't have I gotta find that button, Shady. You guys miss it.
I know, we need that button out of the box.
It's time to dive into the shady past for me, just to discern wisely. Arm pump. Yeah, apparently I blocked him. But this is connections with Ramtha, Splinter's QAnon. How does that splitter QAnon when we go talk to Trump supporters, Shady?
I don't know. I definitely feel like that we found a whole new tribe in all different parts of the world that day that's still thriving to this day. So yep. I have no idea how they'd make that jump.
So she also supports God. She believes in God. She believes in Jesus. So this is disinfo right here. And by the way, if somebody supports God, do they judge? Sounds like you're committing the sin. Thou shalt not judge, correct? I'm being judged right here. Also, I don't attack other patriots. So this is, we behave like toddlers on Red Pill's brilliant show. They immediately got defensive.
Okay.
Yeah, they immediately got defensive. Well, it's called defending yourself when you're being set up. And then here's, with regard to last night's interview, I approached Matrix with a chance to clarify the purpose and reasoning behind this, because I have to bow to this guy.
Right.
I have to ask his permission to do. No man is going to tell me what to do. I prayed on this. Okay? So this is a thread. This is how it's being used against us. The squadron of Patriots had a history of quickly blocking people whenever they break their stories. Well, yeah, I mean, when I'm being lied, I don't know who this is. So we block people, but I'm blocked. Do you understand? So they're saying that I block people. All right, here we go. We can be done with that. I just hope you guys discern it correctly. And let's go to new Q, Shady.
Let's do.
All right. So the truth is right in front of you. Here we go. 81% of Minnesota COVID cases, 19 deaths are from nursing homes, but facilities still allowed to admit positive patients.
And there you have the reason we need a big distraction in Minneapolis.
Right. And by people attacking patriots. There you go. There's why we have that distraction in Minnesota. That's right, Shady. Wow. So,
81%, man.
81.
Like, where's the news? Where's the news? We're
right here.
OAN? Where's anybody out there that seems to care about these people?
We're all right here. We got 1,389 people watching right now. And
everybody else seems to think something else is important.
Yeah. Were you the one that put up the Q billboard? No. It is.
No, we didn't put the billboard up, but if somebody's out there who did do that, we would love to talk to you.
And of course it had the Matrix look, because that was my Q Army logo. It was our logo, guys. It was our logo.
On a billboard.
Yep. They used our logo, and I'm proud. See, I blocked them, Shady.
Uh-huh.
That's their talent. So, guys, discern wisely. Read it. Investigate it. They got nothing on me. And I'm proud. Proud, loud, and going to be heard. And then they said that I got mad because I was doxxed, Shady.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I was completely on your team with being mad about that, so they can stick it.
Shady, they had my daughter.
They put your kids and your girlfriend's kids on the Chans guys and mocking them.
Yep.
And let me just for a second, think about how you might feel whenever you see pictures of your family rolling through on the Chans with inadvertent, half-hearted threats being made towards them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's disgusting, guys. It really is. So I want to just show you this, too. And if you guys decode Q, this is pretty much, I guess, all you need about the Patriots and who's who and what's what. These are the 200 accounts right here, and Shady pointed this out in one of his tweets. And here we are. I mean, I've been selected as a threat, and I'm on this list. We were tweeted out by Hillary Clinton and the deep state. They're trying. We actually can change the narrative. You, me, us, we, all of us together can change the narrative. So this is pretty self-explanatory, Shady. This is what Q says about the people on that list, and I was on it. Shady, I didn't see Reese John on it.
No, I didn't see anyone else on it. I think the only other big Q account that was on there was Running the Race.
Yeah, Running the Race. Yeah, she was on it. That's right. That's the only one I knew.
Yep.
So, if you guys want to help out, that's great.
And very interestingly, how Q pointed out specifically in that post that you have been falsely labeled as disinfo agents, and we had Mr. Reese there doing his little thread, and just to say out loud, they warn us, they send us DMs and start questioning and attacking in DMs about 3 weeks before they start this, and it's connected to a lot of the same people who were doing this before, and they're trying to make another run at us, and that's okay.
That's right.
That's if they feel like it's more important to come after you and I than it is to go after the deep state, then that tells us everything we need to know.
Somebody's asking where they can find the list. 2881, 2880.
Yeah, 2880 and 2881. if I'm not mistaken.
281 has all of it because it's
Right, and then the other one's right, and
yeah.
that's the double. Mhm.
And then, this is, the list right here that goes to Hillary's tweet right here. And then it goes to Politico. So that was Hillary. Then you cruise down here, and then it says something about the same core group of accounts that tweeted about vote fraud.
Now remember that
here
the
they
vote
are.
fraud. Remember how vote fraud is playing into this, because the president, his tweet, look at this. Look at what we were talking about. He was tweeting about vote fraud, and then he was censored by adding inaccurate information about vote fraud. And now see how this leads back to vote fraud. Future is proving past right now in real time.
That's right. And they also called me foreign disinfo agents, and DARPA
They sure did.
proved them wrong. I love it. DARP, because they blocked me, and they can't block U.S. citizens. So
they tried to claim you were a bot first.
Yeah. Bop, boop, beep, boop, bop. I'm not. I'm
No,
real.
you're really not. I
right
mean,
here in the flesh with you guys.
If you are, you impersonate a human very well.
That's right. Hey, DG, right? We're on a DARP name basis. I call him DARP. Good old DARP. All right, so here we go. This is where we go when we go all. These are 528. Did I miss one? I missed 527. Look at this. So wait, I had to do it, Shady. I am so proud of that. And that's in our intro, in the intro song, right? That logo right there is in our intro. That is us, guys. And Shady, that is so honored.
I know. I can't wait to see these things start popping up all across the country.
Amazing. And so we had that billboard in Times Square too. So we're lucky, we're blessed. This is amazing, guys. It's a great time to be alive. Amazing. All right, so let's go to 4239. Let me get over there on this one. Go to 4239. We've only got a few to go through. It's not too bad, right? 4239. Oh my gosh.
4329.
Hey, wait.
I got lost.
28. 4329.
4329. Yeah.
4329.
There
Okay,
we go.
here we go, guys. I did it.
Now we're on track.
I did it. 2 + 2 = 5. That's why I'm all messed up right now.
It's not your fault. The Q's giving us bad info.
I've got to realign my mathematical brain to the 2 + 2 = 4, guys. 4.
The calculator is on the fritz.
That's right. That's right. So here we go. This is it. This is Q post 4329. Sarcasm. If elderly, most at risk, known knowingly, why order COVID-19 positive patients back into nursing homes? Hospital capacity? United States Navy ship comfort capacity? Ignorant A or deliberate B? Accountability. Options outside other than ballot box? Q. Wow. We go to Fox News. Yep. Cuomo granted immunity to nursing home executives after big money. $2 million, Shady. $2 million this guy got a campaign donation.
How convenient.
And now he's got immunity. And it's not just immunity. It's more than the regular COVID immunity. It's bigger. It's absolutely draconian. So here we go. New York Health website deletes Cuomo's order linked to the nursing home. We saw that, and we actually have it as well. There's got to be accountability, Shady.
He's pretending like, oh, what should we have done? Like, you had the Javits Center, you had the USNS, you had space in all the hospitals. They weren't overrun. Like,
That's right.
There is no other answer for this. There is no other answer. You cannot claim stupidity. They were trying to get the numbers up, and also targeting the elderly populations, because what? They're the ones that know the most. They're the ones that actually have freedom in their head and were around during the war and the Reconstruction and were pro-America. So targeted individuals.
That's right. And here's the memo: advisory hospital discharges and admissions to nursing homes. Please distribute immediately. Nursing home administrators, directors, nursing directors of social work, hospital discharge planners. So this is COVID-19 has been detected in multiple communities throughout New York State. There's an urgent need to expand hospital capacity. Wait, didn't we do it? So this is why I think the president and Q is saying we have to show them, we have to show the people before they changed their will, if you will.
Yes.
So why did we use all this stuff, Shady? Why are we killing people? And when Cuomo was directly asked, would you send your grandma there? He said no.
He did.
So he knows this is dangerous. This is knowingly, folks.
And this is provable knowingly.
That's right. So this guy is...
Like I said, they think they can slither out under this argument of stupidity, man. They've been using that. They've weaponized facade stupidity for 50 plus years, and they've got everybody conditioned to think that people in government are too stupid to know what they're doing, and the reality is they know exactly what they're doing.
That's right. Shady, do this one. 4330.
All right. Let's get this one in here. We've got number 4330. Your voice and your vote are what matters most. Witnessing attempts to remove both. 1, censorship, fascism, authoritarian. 2, deplatform, removal, silence. 3, mail-in vote, fraud, dilute, water down constitutional rights, freedom of speech, willfully blind, or willfully accepting. Q.
There you go. I mean, that is a boom right there, folks.
They are not stupid. They are intentionally trying to run a game on us.
So here we go. We got a keyboard warrior right there. That's you guys. Digital soldier, if you will, or part of the Q army. I love it. This is 4331. Intelligence was manipulated by Brennan. Watch the news. So let's go look at Zero Hedge article, and it's talking about Brennan. Loading. There we go. Trump's keyboard warriors get the story while the legacy media ignores Obamagate, guys.
No, they're not ignoring it. They're literally saying it doesn't exist.
Nope.
They're not just ignoring it. They are trying to debunk it.
It's been debunked. That's what they'll say. Just like Scarborough's cold case has already been debunked.
Just like Q is a right-wing fringe.
That's debunked.
It's debunked. It's a debunked conspiracy theory.
The now debunked.
By who?
Right.
I mean, just point to the person that debunked it. I'm okay. I'll talk to him. Like, who debunked it?
Debunked means I'm ignoring your logical questions.
Yeah, debunked means we got to figure out who you are so we can attack you better.
There you go. Yep. So this is it. CrowdStrike, the forensic investigation firm hired by the DNC to inspect its computer servers in 2016, admitted to congressional investigators as early as 2017 that it had no direct evidence of Russian hacking. CrowdStrike knew, Shady.
In the news, who were the orchestrators?
So CrowdStrike's president, Sean Henry, said this under oath. There is not evidence that documents and emails were actually exfiltrated from the DNC servers. There's circumstantial evidence, but no evidence that they were actually exfiltrated. It's a crucial revelation because of the thousand ships Russiagate launched upon the positive assertion that CrowdStrike had definitely proven a Russian hack, guys.
There is no Russian hack.
There is no Russian hack.
I was going back and forth with 3 people yesterday trying to tell me how the Russians hacked the servers. Like, you guys are losing your minds. Can you prove it? Can you show us anything? They say under oath that they didn't investigate the server.
Right.
They tell you right there that we think, and then they tell you that we know the FBI and had worked with the DNC and the Clinton campaign to pay for the Steele dossier that we now know was what the Peter Strzok used. Usually as an FBI agent, in all cases, you cannot initiate the case you're working on. You have to have someone else initiate the case. You're working on this case and you present it to a superior, and the superior puts the go on it. But Peter Strzok was running the case, and then he was also verifying and approving his own case in this situation. So he is the pitcher, he's the batter, he's the whole team. Peter Strzok.
Right. There he is.
But remember whenever his smug little what was up there giving his little looks and everything, like he's all like prim and proper, that's going to come back to get you, buddy. It's just a matter of time.
All right, I'm going to try to get Mr. Biden to read this one for us. Here we go.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the go. You know the thing.
Okay, I'll finish it for you. Why don't you finish it for Joe?
Nice.
Go ahead and Joe, can you try it one more time, Joe? Okay, go.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the go. You know the thing.
Oh, you know the thing that created you.
You know it, right?
Yeah.
All right, so yeah. So Shady, why don't you take it for Joe? He can't. You know the thing.
We know that we.
Was that good? That was good, right, guys?
That was excellent. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for the future security. And Anon says, remember this, Q.
Member?
We member, Q is saying.
Yeah.
We are working on this, Anon, is what Q says. We are literally taking apart the system as the swamp, and we're going to put it back together as the republic.
That's right. And what is despotism, guys?
Despotism is a form of government in which a single entity rules with absolute power. That entity may be an individual, as in an autocracy, or it may be a group, as in an oligarchy. The word despotism means to rule in the fashion of a despot, and does not necessarily require a singular despot, an individual. Despot comes from the Greek despots, which roughly means master, or one with power, and it has been used to translate a wide variety of titles and positions. It was used to describe the unlimited power and authority of the pharaohs of Egypt, employed in the Byzantine court as a title of nobility, used by the rulers of Byzantine vassal states, and adopted as a title of the Byzantine emperors.
Pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah, kind of interesting. Notice the reference to pharaohs or Pharisees, who was calling a bunch of people Pharisees. I was curious if they were going to say Cuomo.
Same thing.
Or Whitmer. You know, it's like
yeah.
Despotism, definition,
Or
Cuomo.
Obama, you know? All of them. All of them. But this is a really good movie, too, if you haven't seen it yet. I think we played a little bit of this.
We played some pieces of this, yeah.
Yeah, it's very good, folks. Just real quick. Who did this, too? Was this...
You can roughly locate any community in the world, somewhere along a scale running all the way
Edward
from
Griffin?
democracy to despotism. One to the democracy end, another somewhere in the middle, and a third. Let's find out about despotism.
And this was
This man
1946,
makes it
folks.
his job to study these things.
Well, for one thing, avoid the comfortable idea that the mere form of government can of itself safeguard a nation against despotism. Germany,
And that's what we need to do. So, guys, check that out, folks, if you guys want to see more. But we played that on a show, and I think it's just very important. I thought it was a great video that I remembered seeing in the past, Shady.
to explain very simply, because I think a lot of people, you know, they don't really teach the young kids out there what despotism is anymore.
That's right. Well, now despotism is democracy. They've, you know.
Exactly. It's like
what I mean?
it's like you should be used to it.
That's right. So here we go. We got this. This is 4328, Shady. Was this ever about the health and well-being of the people? Was this ever about the virus? Or was this always about the election? And let's check out what bumbling speaker has to say.
You just see if she's got her teeth in her mouth today?
Yeah.
Fact is, as a former chair of the California Democratic Party, I can tell you Republicans have always enjoyed much success.
What party?
The fact is, as a former chair of the California Democratic Party, I can tell you Republicans have always enjoyed much success with vote by mail. The absentee ballots have never been a good moment for us over time. So they know how to use the mail for their voting. And there's no scientific study that says one party or the other benefits from it. But this is now a health issue. We talk about saving the lives, testing, the livelihood, the economy, and the life of our democracy. Vote by mail. Now people have to choose between their health and their vote. That shouldn't be the case. We should always be removing obstacles of participation to the vote. That is the sacred right of our democracy to vote. Remove obstacles. But at a time of a pandemic, even more important to give people an option that is not a risk to their lives as well.
Shady. Do you believe her?
No.
You don't believe her?
No, I don't think that she really wants more people to vote. I think that she just wants a certain group of people to vote.
Like more dead people, like put a voting booth right in the middle of
there's
cemeteries.
There's two real big groups that they need to vote. It's the people who are dead and the people who are here illegally.
Wow.
You know, once they get that in the bag, then they've got their democracy sewn up tight, they think.
Amazing, right?
They're not counting on the millions. You know, you guys realize that the president now has like 80.5 million followers on Twitter. He's gained, what is it, like 14 million since January?
Yeah, I was doing a count. It was like 1.5 million in like overnight at one point.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's like 15. It was at 70 million last time I checked, like when we were actually following it. And you said it's 85 million, so yeah, that's 14 to 15.
80.5. So I think it was 67 or 66 back in early January, right? So that's like 12 million added on to that. That's literally like what, 20%, 15-20% more he's added just in the last 3 or 4 months. And you know, that's not to include his Instagram and Facebook following. And so, you know, you guys think that you're not a threat because the media's not, but you're a threat. You're waking up and you're waking your friends and every human intelligence.
So Magnitude CISOs, how are we going to stop the vote fraud happening? Well, it looks like there's a lot of cases in every state, pretty much.
There are. There are pending cases in almost all states right now directed towards voter fraud, and we're getting consistent news stories coming out about voter fraud. The postal worker just yesterday, and then another news story. So the news is going to start cycling into these events of voter fraud right now. And you see the president talking about the social media. This is the first step, just much like the DOJ. It's like it doesn't really do a lot of good to get a bunch of cases to the DOJ when the guys at the top aren't going to prosecute the cases. Well, it doesn't do a lot of good to put a bunch of information out on social media whenever the people at the top are going to censor everything you say. So we got to get the censorship dealt with, however that looks, whether it's these platforms going down or new platforms or algorithms being scrubbed, whatever it is, that needs to be in place so that we can make a run for sharing the truth without being edited and censored. They're going to have to make a choice. You're either a publisher or you're not.
That's right. So here we go. Let's do this next one because nobody else really talked about the meat of this one, Shady. Why don't you take it?
Okay, well, Q points us to a really interesting article that we're going to bounce to in just a second. First, I'm going to read this. When do you expend ammunition? HRC direct attack regarding Q. Remember, not that long ago. Why? 2,200 plus attack MSDNC articles written and pushed in the past 2 years. Control of narrative is a threat. Logical thinking. Information warfare. Q. And so where does this nice little link go?
Let's see here, Shady. Let's take you over there. Let's take you there right now. Here we go.
CBS News article.
Oh,
Who's
that?
Joe Ray Perkins gets Q'd.
Yeah. And I noticed nobody talked about it, Shady.
I noticed that people weren't very interested. Why is the Q community not coming together for Joe Ray Perkins? It's baffling to me.
Yeah.
This lady is amazing. And right there, look at the top of the article in the newest, what does it say? Or now deleted online video. Oregon Republican Senate candidate Joe Ray Perkins touched or something QAnon online. I can't read it in the small print, but
okay,
Joe
so
Ray Perkins.
Here we go. In a now deleted online video, Oregon Republican Senate candidate Joe Ray Perkins touted QAnon, an online conspiracy theory group, on the night she won the primary. Other candidates have ties to the group, and new director of national intelligence, John Ratcliffe, also. Amazing, guys. And, you know, they've quoted her being on our show and everything. So let's check out the video. It's probably going to be I probably should have already started queuing it up while we're talking.
Got it?
Because we're going to have an ad.
Slippery.
They're going to make us watch 30 seconds.
It's slippery, Shady.
Look, they make you watch a whole 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, here you go, guys. Here's some free advertising.
Woof. The quicker picker-upper.
Oh, no, you did it.
I did it. That's not Palmolive. You're soaking in it.
Is Bounty paying you?
No, they should be, though, because we are the real news. Here we go.
Of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe is now 24 hours into his new job. The former Republican congressman was sworn in yesterday, but his nomination and confirmation didn't come without controversy and pushback from Democrats. Earlier this month, reports pointed out that his now defunct official campaign Twitter account followed other accounts linked to QAnon, an online conspiracy theory group. It's unclear if it was Ratcliffe or others with access to his Twitter feed following those accounts. As Ratcliffe leaves Congress, other candidates itching to get to Capitol Hill also appear to have connections to QAnon, including Oregon Republican Senate nominee Joe Ray Perkins.
Where we go one, we go all. I stand with President Trump. I stand with Q and the team. Thank you, Anons, and thank you, Patriots, and together we can save our republic.
She posted this video the night she won the primary, but it has since been taken down. In recent interviews, Perkins said she was, quote, bummed that her campaign consultants removed the clip. Let's bring in CNET senior producer Dan Patterson to talk about this. Dan, first help us understand QAnon. Followers are entrenched in American politics, and they call themselves patriots. What is their worldview of Washington and the political arena?
Yes, so we have talked about this group, QAnon, for the last 18 months or so in the context of them being a hard right and fringe conspiracy group. So this organization, this group, believes that there is a, air quotes, deep state conspiracy to take down Donald Trump connected to cannibalistic Democrats who also are involved in pedophilia and child trafficking. None of this is true, but it was born through message boards like 4chan, then later 8chan, which rebranded as 8kun and is now hosted in Russia. Again, none of these conspiracies are true. However, the group has migrated from those fringe elements into mainstream politics, again, over the last 18 months or so. And now we are seeing them at places like DNI and in Congress, really important jobs where facts matter.
Yeah, you know, you sort of threw out a couple of their conspiracy theories, and it may sound like super wacky, but you point out that the FBI is actually now taking it seriously. And I kind of like, it's hard to say QAnon is a group because it's a very, very loose group. I mean, we're talking about an anonymous person that sort of leaves these sort of hints or breadcrumbs online. One could be one person, could be many people, we don't really know. And then individuals who are drawn to this information, for I'm putting that in air quotes. But who could forget Pizzagate? I mean, because of some of this stuff, brought forward by QAnon, allegedly. Somebody showed up at a pizza parlor in Washington, D.C. with a gun to prove the theory's right. So,
Yeah.
you know, when the FBI says you should take this seriously, they're not joking.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Anne-Marie. And look, the origins of Pizzagate, where a QAnon person did go into a pizzeria in Washington, D.C. with an automatic weapon, that is not the only instance of violence. So often members of this conspiracy, and again, it is a
Wait,
loose-knit
so
group.
now it's a QAnon person, not an Alex Jones follower? Interesting.
Like you said, Anne-Marie, there really isn't a leader. However, they organize around these message boards. And the traffic is significant. So there's, you know, between 20 and 30 million posts per month or views per month generated by QAnon traffic. And they will often say, the FBI will say, especially when, you know, I've had experiences where QAnon has threatened me. The FBI says, look, it takes, you know, one person in 1,000 or one person in 1,000,000 who has violent inclinations. So, you know, it may not be that every member of this conspiracy is violent, but they certainly have instances.
So who's more violent? The Democrats that come in, get in our face, and choke their dogs out? Let's keep going.
Of violence tracking very recently. You know, we can see that members who were associated with QAnon, the El Paso shooting, the Christchurch shooting, these are all involved in the same and very similar acts of violence. So you are absolutely right, Anne-Marie. When the FBI says to take this seriously, the violence associated with QAnon seriously, we need to listen to them.
Dan, has there been any discussion online within and I've been saying QAnon, but I guess it's QAnon community about Ratcliffe being the new director of national intelligence?
Yeah, again, not to play into stereotypes or make this sound kind of humorous, but in the back of your head, you can kind of hear this chant, one of us, one of us. Look, the QAnon conspiracy is brought together by a few things, and that is sometimes just coded language. So you will see hashtags that say, like, where we go one, we go all, or waiting for the storm, or similar types of language. Even the letter Q, the QAnon people will use that if the president has a Q, is a part of his questions or his answers, they will lead into that with a coded language. So when people like Ratcliffe use or have QAnon associated with them, that is coded language to the other members that, hey, we one of us, I'm one of you, you are one of us.
So, you know, for the longest time, QAnon was sort of relegated to these sort of fringe, you know, bulletin boards, like it's 4chan and then 8chan and off in the fringes. And increasingly now we're seeing that some of these conspiracy theories that have been pushed forward by QAnon are part of the public conversation, definitely more mainstream. And I don't think you can get a better example than a political candidate who, you know, pledges her allegiance to QAnon only to have her own people say, that's ridiculous, you can't do that, and for her to sort of fight against her own people, to, you know, pushing forward a QAnon. What is driving this into the mainstream? Because some of these theories just seem like straight, you know, outer space, like way out there.
Sadly, the answer is very easy. Money, power, web traffic. That's what's driving QAnon. Look, QAnon has, like I said earlier, 20 to 30 million views a month it was generating for 8chan before 8chan went down. It is not insubstantial. When I've been doxxed and attacked, what we call brigading by QAnon, I use data tools to measure the inbound traffic, and these are not exaggerating, tens of thousands of posts, sometimes
It's a field
over an
office, not the
extended
actual
period of
FBI,
time.
folks.
Yes, there is what we call coordinated inauthentic activity, keeping this alive. These are sometimes bots or sock puppets. These are real people logging into fake accounts. Sometimes actual bots push this, but a lot of QAnon is actual human beings, and there are apparently hundreds of thousands, if not millions of them. And Anne-Marie, the financial incentives are very clear. There's a lot of good reporting from the New York Times and other places that detail how YouTube traffic, AdSense traffic, advertising traffic is huge. So the reason QAnon continues and is moving mainstream is not that there are more people buying into QAnon or really believe these outlandish conspiracies. It is that there is a significant financial incentive provided by the big technology firms in the form of advertising.
So fascinating. Dan, always pleasure talking to you, always illuminating. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
President saw, and the president put out a statement last night that
this is
at
live
his
right now,
request,
guys.
the FBI
Here
and
we
the
go.
Department of Justice are already well into an investigation as to the very sad and tragic death in Minnesota of George Floyd. I have asked for this investigation to be expedited and greatly appreciate all of the work done by law enforcement. My heart goes out to George's family and friends. Justice will be served. I can tell you that as I'm briefing you at this moment, the president is receiving a briefing from the Attorney General, Bill Barr, on this, and the Deputy Director of the FBI. So that is ongoing as I begin this briefing. Secondly, I want to transition into some news from SBA and Treasury that was announced that today the U.S. Small Business Administration, in consultation with the U.S. Treasury Department, announced that it is setting aside $10 billion of round 2 funding for the Paycheck Protection Program to be lent exclusively to CDFIs. Those are community development financial institutions. CDFIs work to expand economic opportunity in low-income communities by providing access to financial products and services for local residents and businesses. So we're encouraged to see that. And then finally, before taking your questions, I wanted to address what has been going on Twitter and with social media. I believe it is time to, quote, get the facts about Twitter and other social media platforms targeting their bias against President Trump and conservatives online. If we were to judge the bias of Twitter and its top employees by their own words, the case would be an easy one to make. Twitter's head of site integrity has tweeted that there are, quote, actual Nazis in the White House, and no fact check label was ever applied to this absolutely outrageous, offensive, and false claim made against the White House and its employees. But let's judge Twitter based on their actions, not based on the words of its top employees, and its actions are no better. President Trump recently received a so-called fact check label for a tweet. It was a false fact check and an accurate fact check, but nevertheless, Twitter moved forward with it. Dan Scavino, the deputy chief of staff here, was the first user in the history of Twitter to receive a so-called, quote, manipulated media label for posting a video that played a verbatim clip. It is no coincidence that these two unbelievable interventions by Twitter were targeted against the President of the United States and one of the President's top advisors. This is bias in action. And while big tech is quick to censor the President, quick to censor some of his top employees, they are very reluctant, it seems, to label some of the actions by Chinese officials, some of the misinformation that has been spread by China. For example, to move off of Twitter and move to Google, they created a search engine for the Chinese Communist Party, which blacklisted searches for human rights and allowed for easy surveillance. Facebook and Twitter have both taken paid advertising that spread disinformation about China's mass imprisonment of religious minorities, and Twitter has allowed Chinese officials to use its platforms to spread misinformation about the coronavirus, undermine the pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong, and more. And then back in March, a Chinese official began spreading a conspiracy theory on Twitter, an egregious one, that our U.S. military was responsible for the spread of the coronavirus. And that tweet, that disinformation, it took all the way until today when we raised concerns about it to get a fact check. So they appear to be very hastily eager to censor President Trump and some of his employees, but a little reluctant when it comes to China. It's a bit befuddling. But no one believes in the First Amendment more than the president. The president will take action to ensure that big tech does not stifle free speech and that the rights of all Americans to speak, tweet, and post are protected. And finally, I just want to note One other action of Twitter that I learned just before walking out here, that on the Mueller report, their anti-Trump headlines were anti-Trump by a ratio of 76-1. That's extraordinary, and it's not just bias aimed at President Trump and his employees. It's also aimed at everyday Americans. It's aimed at the movie Unplanned, as Twitter suspended their account and then came up with an excuse in the aftermath. And then just another example, that liberals are allowed to incite violence against the Covington kids, who were in the end proven right, and their video was taken out of context, and yet these individuals were allowed by Twitter to incite violence. It's very disturbing to see. So those are some of the president's concerns, and with that, I will take questions. Jim. That's a very nice tie, Jim, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yesterday, the U.S. hit 100,000 deaths from the coronavirus. That happened at around 6 o'clock yesterday evening. It took until about 9 in the morning for the president to recognize that on Twitter. What took him so long?
Look, the president recognized that landmark before we even hit it. The president, that was, after all, it was the impetus behind him lowering the flag to half-staff. He did that for several days, and that was an acknowledgement of that number approaching, and he acknowledged it in a tweet this morning.
But we hit 100,000 yesterday evening, and it took 13 hours, some odd hours, for him to recognize that and tweet about it.
And far in advance of that benchmark, as I noted, he lowered the flag to half-staff. The president has said, you mentioned 100,000, but the president has said one death is too many. He takes this very seriously. He said before, this is the hardest part of his presidency. It's something that no one wanted to see happen.
And on Twitter, shouldn't the president be fact-checked? Especially this president who has made so many false and misleading statements that has put, fact checkers to work across the world. I mean, he's uttered some 18,000 false or misleading statements, according to the Washington Post. If there's any president out there who should be fact-checked, any political leader out there should be fact-checked, isn't it President Trump? And aren't you trying to silence fact-checking by going after Twitter like this?
Look, well, first I would say I disagree with all, if not almost all, of those assertions that you're making there, because look, if you're going to get into the fact-checking business, there's no one that should be fact-checked more than the mainstream media that has been continually wrong about a number of things. To give you a list of some of the most egregious ones, that ABC News in December of 2017 falsely reported that Flynn would testify that the president directed him during the campaign to make contact with the Russians. That was false. In 2017, your network, CNN, botched their WikiLeaks email exclusive and were forced to make on-air corrections. CNN's Jem Sciutto, another CNN one, dropped a fictional bombshell in 2018, July, claiming that Michael Cohen would tell federal investigators that the president knew of the Trump Tower meeting. And there are many more, not to just put the onus on CNN there. So if anyone needs to be fact-checked, I think it should be the media.
There are news outlets that make mistakes from time to time. We own up to those mistakes. We correct those mistakes.
Not always. I have many you guys haven't owned up to. I could get to.
We do on a regular basis. The president never owns up to any of his false or misleading statements or outright lies. You have pledged in this briefing room to never lie to the American people. Are you saying that the president of the United States has never lied to the public before?
I'm around the president. His intent is always to give truthful information to the American people. And you mentioned that the media apologizes for their mistruths. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at other headlines in the New York Times saying there aren't enough ventilators to cope with the coronavirus. In fact, we had an excess of ventilators we've shipped around the world. Washington Post, U.S. health system is showing why it's not ready for a coronavirus pandemic. We were ready. There's many more I could get to. I could, on the coronavirus specifically, I could spend the time going through these, but I don't think that's what the American people want to hear. Yes.
On the Minnesota case, does the president agree with the firings of the 4 police officers, and does he believe that they should be prosecuted?
I haven't talked to him about that specifically, but let me tell you this, that he was very upset when he saw that video. I was on Air Force One. I don't know if it was the first time he saw it, but he certainly saw it again on Air Force One. He was very upset by it. It was egregious, appalling, tragic, and it prompted him to pick up the phone, or the chief of staff to pick up the phone and say, we need to expedite what was already an FBI investigation. He wants justice to be served. Yes, Jeff right there.
Thanks, Kaylee. Can you give us an update on when the president plans to sign the EO on Twitter and social media? And can you also give us an update on his plans for China and Hong Kong? Is there an order coming on that as well?
So thank you for the question. First, I would note with regard to the timing of the EO, that should be later this afternoon is what we're hoping for, hopefully before 5 p.m. But again, it could change. It's still in the works, but we are getting closer. With regard to Hong Kong, I would just say, reiterate what I said 2 days ago, but I would also say that China's decision to impose a new national security law in Hong Kong lies in direct conflict with its international obligations under the principles of the legally binding UN-registered Sino-British Joint Declaration, and that Secretary Pompeo determined that Hong Kong does not warrant different treatment under U.S. laws because Hong Kong no longer remains sufficiently autonomous from the PRC. And then anything further, I'd refer you to the State Department for now. Paula?
Just one more somewhat related. The House recently passed a bill about a minority group in China, the Uyghurs, if I said that correctly. Does the president plan to sign that? And is the White House going to treat bills, or does the White House see any concerns about bills that have been passed by proxy as not being constitutional?
So we would, first let me say we would encourage Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats and others to come back to the Hill. It's more productive to have those members here. The Senate has convened, the House can do the same, and they can do it in person. But with regard to the Uyghurs, that's a very important question. We haven't received the bill yet, so the president hasn't been able to look through it, and I won't get ahead of him on announcing one way or the other on that, but I would note that the Trump administration continues to take actions to hold the CCP accountable for its highly repressive campaign against the Uyghurs and other religious and ethnic minorities. Paula.
Hey, Kaylee, thank you. On vaccines, in order to achieve herd immunity, you need about 80% of people to get this vaccine. Currently, only about 50% of Americans say they'll receive it. So will the administration make the vaccine mandatory?
So the vaccine, let me just note that we're working aggressively to get one, and we would like to get one by the end of the year. Everything does not depend on a vaccine. Vaccine's an important component of this, but there are also therapeutics. We're seeing there's not necessarily a tie to reopening and an increase in cases, so that's encouraging. And I would refer you further to Alex Azar, who's made extensive comments on a vaccine and the necessity.
Clear if you guys will make it mandatory, if you'll use your federal powers, how you'll use them potentially to encourage people to get this vaccine, because if you don't have herd immunity, elderly people, immunocompromised folks, they may not be able to.
In my opinion, the vaccine won't
Yeah, I would
pass.
have to talk to
This
the
is
president.
a
I have to talk to him
non-issue.
about his views on making
In my
it mandatory
opinion.
or not. So I'd have to talk to him and get back to you on that. Yes.
Thank you, Kaylee. I wanted to ask you a question, first of all, about the comments in your statement that you made. At the conclusion of your comments, in regards to George Floyd, you said that justice will be served. What do you mean by that? Do you mean that those officers who've been fired should be arrested? Do you mean by that those officers who've been fired should be prosecuted? Do you mean that those officers who've been fired should be convicted? What do you mean by justice should be served?
Yeah. I'll leave that to the justice system to work out, but the president.
What do you mean when you say
Those
justice will be served?
That's in the president's statement, so I'd refer you back to his statement. But he's being briefed on this right now, and we'll have more announcements as they come. Yes.
Another matter in regards to what you said in your statement, in regards to the executive order. I realize it hasn't come out yet, and I realize we haven't seen the language, but we have seen reports. I work for Fox, and we've seen reports that it relates to the Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And interestingly enough, former Vice President Joe Biden has also called for the repeal of Section 230. He says that it should be revoked immediately. But as you know, an executive order does not trump the law. An executive order can't, for instance, repeal the law. It can't in any way amend the law. So what would be the intent behind this executive order without getting ahead of what the president intends to sign?
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of that, but the one thing I will say more broadly, you referenced that section, I think that would be included in what I'm about to say. There are various shields in place that essentially shield some of these social media companies and allow them to censor conservative users, and we're not able to see what happens behind those shields. That section was one of those shields you mentioned, so we're looking at ways to remove those shields to shed some light on what is happening and some of the decision-making behind the scenes. That's generally and broadly the idea, but I won't get ahead on any specific announcements that should come hopefully before 5 p.m. John.
Kaylee, I want to follow up on Jim's question on fact-checking and Twitter, but first a clarification. Has the president spoken to the family of George Floyd?
Not to my knowledge. If he did, without my knowledge, that could have happened, but not to my knowledge.
Do you know if he intends to, or will you get back to us on that?
I can ask him, and I can get back to you on that.
Okay. Regarding the fact checking, I mean, the president clearly said things in these tweets that are not true. Do you not acknowledge that?
No, I don't acknowledge that.
He said, for instance, that the governor of California is sending out ballots to millions of people, anyone living in the state, no matter who they are, how they got there. That is not true. California is sending out absentee ballots to registered voters, not to anybody.
Yeah,
that's just not true.
So let me address this in detail on the issue of ballots. And I'm going to lay out some of the president's concerns, and in that, I will get to the California example. First, I want to note that there is a Pew study done that shows there's plenty of reason to believe that in the mass mail-in system that there is fraud. They estimated that approximately 24 million, 1 out of every 8 voters registered in the U.S. are no longer valid or are significantly inaccurate. So these are people who are on voter registrations that have not been maintained, that have not been kept up. More than 1.8 million have been deceased, they estimated. And then when you look and drill down into some of the examples that we've seen in states, Nevada I read about this last week, and it just really struck me as a perfect example of what the president is concerned about with mail-in ballots and the fraud that can be inherent in that. There were ballots, because Nevada mass mailed them out to voter rolls, that were piling up in apartment complexes, outside of apartment complexes in Las Vegas, sitting around in trash cans. This is how we're protecting ballots. It's extraordinary. Postal workers, one 36-year veteran carrier said she's never seen anything like these influx of absentee ballots. All of the people had moved or died when she set out to deliver on her first delivery route, and this happened just recently. You can go read the articles from last week. She found 65 ballots of people who had moved or died on her second carry, 100. And then as the week progressed, thousands just sitting in crates. I mean, this is extraordinary. This is not how we should be protecting U.S. ballots. In South Carolina, the Democrats sued to force a rush transfer of mail-in voting. And this happened again recently. I think it was last week. And mail-in ballots for South Carolina turned up in Maryland. There's another example of 700 suspicious mail-in ballots in Dallas, and an individual charged with second-degree felony illegal voting, and he's accused of visiting a woman in April to collect her blank absentee ballot, filling it out and forging her signature. I mean, this is extraordinary. And then you go on, there's a New Jersey example of over 3,000 ballots that were seemingly set aside. And going to California, you mentioned, California is one of those states that's notorious for ballot harvesting. And in 2018, the registrar in Orange County said that they reported that his office had people dropping off maybe 100 or 200 ballots at a time, and somehow in LA County, 112% of LA County is registered to vote. So the problem is this: when you don't clean your register and you send out your entire register, auto send out these ballots, they end up in trash cans like in Nevada. They are subject to fraud, and that is extremely troubling.
But Kaylee, I asked you a very specific question. The president said that California was sending out ballots to everybody in the state. That is a false statement. It is not correct. Will the president correct that, acknowledge that what he said is simply not true?
There is an executive order that was put into place recently by Gavin Newsom that would auto-send to voter rolls, and that would lead to what the president was suggesting.
Yes. Excuse me, Kaylee, to registered voters, it's not to everybody, it's to registered voters.
Yeah, to everyone, including dead people on the voter rolls, including to the mysterious 112% in LA County. That's not just everyone. That's everyone plus an extra 12%. And if you're not concerned about that, I'm sorry. I mean, the media is very concerned about the security of our elections, but when it comes to mail-in ballots, all of a sudden, the concern for election security just melts away.
But Kelly, you yourself have voted by mail.
Thank you very much.
Brian.
Research on mail-in ballots. Research has shown that one,
I love her.
Party,
press 17 if you love Kaylee. I want to see all those 17s.
Both parties are still pursuing it, and fraud is not widespread. And so why is the president continuing to tweet about this and to give the impression that there's widespread fraud in the use of mail-in ballots when he himself used a mail-in ballot? The big question is, some are concerned that the president may be laying the groundwork to cast doubt on the election. Is that what he's doing by bringing this up?
Well, I appreciate you bringing up this question and specifically the component about the president using mail-in ballots. There's an important distinction, and I think it's lost upon a lot of people, but it's important to make, is that the president is okay with mail-in voting so long as you have a reason. He's not okay with mass mail-in voting where you auto-send, as I said, to all of these voter rolls with people who are dead that are subject to fraud. That is the case. I listed off for you, I think, 3 of the 5 examples I gave you were from just this week and last week. So this does happen.
And research has shown, Stanford University did a research study that showed that there wasn't widespread fraud in these vote by mail, and that it didn't benefit either party and increased voter participation. So why would the president be against that?
Yeah, it is subject to both parties. This can hurt both parties. I would note that a bipartisan commission, led in part by President Jimmy Carter, a Democrat, concluded that mail-in ballots, quote, remain the largest source of potential voter fraud. So moving the entire country to that system doesn't make sense, and doing so in a hurried fashion ahead of November. Just go look at the Democrat Iowa caucus and how it worked out when they tried to move to a new system.
Trying to lay groundwork to cast doubt on the results of the election.
Finally,
is he laying groundwork to try to cast doubt on the results?
No, he's certainly not doing that. And I would finally note there's an additional concern that was very well laid out by the Wall Street Journal editorial board, that in 2016, minorities and first-time voters were more likely to have mail-in ballots thrown out. So that is another troubling concern. In fact, 319,000 of those total votes were rejected. Yes.
Thank you. Back in November, President Trump went up to Walter Reed, said it was for phase 1 of his physical. When does he plan to complete phase 2 and release the results to the public?
Yeah, I don't have an update on the physical, but because you asked that, I'll specifically inquire about that today and try to get back to you.
Do it?
You what?
He does plan to do it?
Yes, he does. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. I wanted to ask you about, President has completed his 2 weeks of hydroxychloroquine. Have you spoken to him what he's feeling about? Is he feeling better? What's his feedback about that?
I did, and thank you. I know that you emailed me a question to that effect, and I didn't have time to follow up with you via email, but because I saw that, I went into him just before coming out here, and I asked him that, and he said, quote, he's feeling perfect, quote, he's feeling absolutely great after taking this regimen, and quote, he would take it again if he thought that he was exposed. So he is feeling very good, and I also would point folks, there's a very, very well done piece. It's very thorough with a lot of medical experts laying out about prophylaxis use of hydroxychloroquine by Tina Hessman-Say at sciencenews.org. It's very well done. She talks about the nearly 200 clinical trials around the world, including 28 involving healthcare workers. In fact, at Henry Ford Hospital in Michigan, 3,000 healthcare workers are taking it as part of a trial. And there's some really excellent information there about the use of prophylaxis for this.
A number of Indian American doctors have been writing. I have seen some of those letters. They are supporting President taking hydroxychloroquine. Some of them have themselves taking it. Have you seen those too?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a lot. It's not specific to the president, these doctors, but they just talk in general about what they've seen. For instance, Sarah Lofgren, an infectious disease doctor at the University of Minnesota Medical School in Minneapolis, they're testing hydroxychloroquine there to prevent COVID-19. And she said when used alone, we're not seeing major issues. Out of the thousands of patients, we're not seeing things that some people are concerned about. And I would just note that it's important, of course, always, if taking hydroxychloroquine, get a prescription from your doctor. Doctors are the ones that need to be prescribing this. But that being said, I think that some of the hyperbole around this drug that has been on the market for 65 years, been approved for use in 3 other maladies, and has been approved for off-label use, when there's a lot of hyperbole about this being unsafe, some of the things I've seen reported out there are consequences
Sorry about
deterring
that.
people from being recruited into actual clinical trials. I have some quotes from a New York epidemiologist and others conducting trials saying they're having trouble recruiting people because some of the myths that are out there. So it's important to note that this drug has been safely used by millions of people for a long time.
One more on China.
Yes.
President yesterday tweeted about he wants to mediate between India and China on the border dispute. China has been behaving very weirdly, very aggressively with its neighbors in the last few weeks, in particular in South China, so you must have seen on the Indian border side. What's the message President has to these countries?
Yeah, I'd refer you back to the president's tweet on that one. Yep. Yes, Christian.
Thanks, Kaylee. We saw reports that before swearing in John Ratcliffe as DNI, Rick Grinnell
declassify the trove of documents related to the Russia investigation. The President hinted that those could be made public sometime soon. Does the director plan on doing that anytime in the near future?
Yeah, so those, I believe, are under a process of review by the DOJ, so I'll refer to them on that. Yes. Tom, do you have a question? I thought I saw you had your hand raised. No?
Kaylee.
Kelly?
Yeah, back there.
Yes, hi. Thank you. I want to ask you about Russia's recent actions in Libya. The U.S. AFRICOM has been issuing statements recently about U.S. actions there, and in their statements, they're saying that Russia is clearly trying to tip the scales in its favor in Libya, just like it did in Syria, by deploying military aircraft likely to provide close air support and offensive fires for the Wagner group that is supporting Libya's LNA fight against the internationally recognized government. What's the White House position on this? And do you agree with the U.S. AFRICOM assessment that their actions, the Russian actions in Libya, are destabilizing the region?
Yeah, we encourage de-escalation in Libya, and for more, I'd refer you to the DOD. Chanel?
Thank you, Kaylee. If Joe Scarborough were innocent, couldn't he sue the president for defamation? And then, in turn, couldn't President Trump's attorneys immediately depose Joe Scarborough and allow him to go on under oath and explain how, this 28-year-old woman was found dead by his desk with multiple skull fractures? Would the president welcome a defamation suit from Joe Scarborough?
So on that, I would just refer you back to some of my previous comments that the audio on the Don Imus show was very disturbing, where there was a lot of laughing and joking about this matter that certainly is not a laughing and joking matter.
Do you think that Scarborough has grounds to do so?
So I have no further comments other than to just point back to the Don Imus audio. Who hasn't? Yes. You haven't got a question? Yeah.
When were the states first notified that they would have to take the lead in COVID-19 testing? I know the CDC was working on it early on, January, February, there was a problem with the test. When were the states told, hey, you have to prepare and take the lead here in testing your population?
So I don't have a precise date for you, but I know the way the process went, where the states came up with the plans that they thought they would need to have adequate testing in order to reopen. Those plans were given to us, and Admiral Joie meticulously went through all of those plans, ensured that we had enough supply to shore up those plans that states had, and to make sure that the states had enough to safely reopen. So that was how the process went, and the president has done really extraordinary work with testing. 300 to 400,000 tests per day is a pretty good number, a very good number, I would say. More than 15 million done, beating the world in testing numbers, and under 10% positivity is at least the barometer given by the WHO as what's necessary. And nationally, we're at under 10% positivity. In fact, we're at 7.5% positivity rate. So we are doing quite well on testing. Is there anyone who hasn't gotten a question? Because right there.
Yeah, thank you. Has the president heard from his counterparts regarding the G7 summit? Is it actually going to take place in June at the White House?
We do aim for it to take place then. It's gotten positive reception. I inquired about this 2 days ago and was told it's getting very positive reception from world leaders. So we do intend for that to take place here.
You have a date?
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. You yourself have been able to vote by mail several times. Do you think anyone with health concerns, who has health concerns about going to the polls, should have that same convenience, that right?
So what I would note again is the distinction between absentee voting and having a reason, and mass mail-out voting where ballots are sent in a widespread fashion to people who are dead but on voting rolls, and those ballots end up in trash cans. That's a state-by-state consideration. I'll leave it to states to determine what is a valid reason, but there are, if you're an elderly person who's unable to get to...
They're doing this out of health considerations for a lot of their residents. And if they want to pursue that track, is there anything wrong with that?
Again, I mean, you're asking, I assume you're asking with relation to the pandemic that's going on. None of us know where we're going to be in November. I'd first note that. We don't have a crystal ball. But what I would say is that there are real concerns when you don't do in-person voting. And South Carolina is a great example where Democrats literally sued to force rushed mail-in voting. And what happened? You had ballots from South Carolina ending up in Baltimore. That is not a tenable system. And as states start to reopen and we see people out at beaches in Florida and we're not seeing these mass spikes, and we see people safely going to restaurants and social distancing and washing their hands and doing all the wonderful mitigation techniques put forward by our experts, they're reopening society and they're doing so safely. And I think there's a way to continue our great civic duty of showing up and voting in a way that is safe. And the same way it's safe to eat at a restaurant, it's safe to go to a beach, we can vote in a safe fashion. And I think that's something that is good and to be celebrated as we head to November. All right, I think I took everyone's question. Thank you so much, guys.
There you have it. Kaylee rips him a new one. I love it. I think she's doing an amazing job. Oh my gosh.
She's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean
she is just on point and not afraid, and she's looking at them right in the eye and absorbing their ridiculousness and then punching back.
Absolutely. It's just amazing. So, by the way, should we just cruise back over here, Shady? This is, we just talked about this one, about the ammunition and HRC attack regarding Q. Why? 2,200 plus attack MSDNC articles written, pushed in the past 2 years. Control of narrative, threat, logical thinking, information warfare, and that was this one right here that kind of got cued, and Joe Ray's in there, and we played that just before Joe Ray. Actually, she jumped in the chat here real quick, so congratulations on this, Joe Ray. And we kind of went over your what was it, the article about winning in the Oregonian Live, and
Oregon Live, yeah.
Yep.
Little bit of a hit piece, but like I was saying, they are they're having to talk about it. They're having to bring the discussion to the forefront, and it's leadership like Joe Ray that is kind of the best suited for the job.
That's right. And the people that are attacking anybody, such as Joe Ray or anybody else that has talked about Q or read Q, the information, if they're attacking, they're helping Hillary Clinton. It's really that simple.
Sure are, and they're helping the narrative keep everyone in complete, suspense
Control.
or under complete control.
And even the local and state quote unquote GOPs are still old guard, folks. They're still a swamp, local, state and local. So make sure you understand your swamp locally.
And learn your swamp.
Learn your swamp and get them out. So this is it. Joe Ray was made hundreds of articles, Yahoo Sports. I mean Yahoo Sports, but just interesting. Daily Mail, ABC, you name it. We did a Bing search on it, and there was hundreds. So I think it's amazing that she, because the Q quote unquote information is Trump's information.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. And here's the show right here that nobody wanted to link you to. And at 21 minutes, Joe Ray joins us to celebrate her win. And this is the show that all of the mainstream articles were quoting, Shady.
Yeah, they were quoting us without saying they were quoting us.
That's right.
Because they don't want people to actually see a Q post. That would be not good.
Yeah, no. They don't want you to hear Shady. They don't want you to hear me. They don't want you to see Q posts. They don't want you to interacting with the fine folks out here in our live chat right now. They don't want that.
It's anti-productive to their narrative. It would be dangerous to their democracy.
Yes, to their democracy. Absolutely correct. Because, this Shady. This is, we gotta...
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the thing.
You know the thing, Shady.
You know the thing we're created by, and that
Can't say God, can you, huh, Joe?
You had a hard time getting it out, didn't you?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Gosh, yesterday they showed a clip of him I couldn't even understand him, Shady.
Not the one where he was talking out at the other end, right?
I don't know. And he farted or something crazy like that?
Yeah, he was talking out the other end.
There you go. That's it. Okay. President of El Salvador, just so you know, announced that he is taking hydroxychloroquine. And guess what? Most world leaders are doing the same.
Ah.
That's
I wonder if that includes the ones in France and other countries that are trying to now remove information regarding AIDS.
I have hairy legs.
I used to have hairy legs, and kids come up by the pool and they rub my hair and stand up. They just talk about roaches and stuff on my lap.
I love them bouncing on my lap.
Love the kids bouncing on my lap.
Jeez, the more you know, Shady. Breitbart article links to Italy. 96% of coronavirus fatalities had other chronic illnesses.
Boom.
Gee, you think that's why they're in the nursing home, Shady?
Yeah.
Because they're in the nursing home for a reason, correct?
Correct.
Because you might have a chronic illness.
Mm-hmm.
And so
you might be susceptible to corona.
To my corona. So if you have a coronavirus patient in a nursing home, and this is what New York has done, they're going to basically say you don't have to have, you have immunity if somebody dies of COVID. Because if there's a non-COVID nursing home person and they fail or spread it because one nurse or doctor goes from one infected room to a non-infected room and infects that person, they're not liable. I mean, that's ridiculous, Shady.
It's completely ridiculous.
Yeah. So, but 96% had other illnesses, Shady, than
underlying issues.
Yep.
Multiples. You know, you go into the article and it actually says, most of the patients had multiple underlying issues before they were diagnosed. I think this whole world corona count is going to come down significantly. And, notice how they were really, the president didn't acknowledge the 100,000th person dying of coronavirus. The media's putting out all the names. There's all this concern for it. They don't really care about you. All they care about are their stories and optics. If they cared about you, they would say things like, president saved 1.9 million people's lives whenever he cut off travel from China.
That's right. And the most common issues were arterial hypertension. That was 68.3 of the cases. Type 2 diabetes, 30.1. Ischemic heart disease, 28.2. Atrial fibrillation, 22.5. And chronic renal failure, 20.4%. Not COVID.
Not COVID.
Right.
And so people that are dying from gunshot wounds are that's not COVID related either. I know that we have to keep people updated out there.
That's right. You stub your toe.
If you stub your toe and die from COVID, that doesn't really count as a COVID death.
It's a chronic illness. I have a toe that's...
It's a chronic illness.
I have a toe. And the kids... Oh, never mind. Okay, here we go. So this is... toe
in the water?
Toe in the water. Quarantine is when you restrict the movement of sick people. Tyranny is when you restrict the movement of healthy people. Q. That is
very
a
simple.
Boom right there.
Very, 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 very simple.
Did you see this, Shady?
I saw this.
All right, so this is Ivanka Trump saying SpaceX crew Dragon to the ISS was scrubbed 17 minutes before the scheduled launch date due to the inclement weather. Leaving Kennedy Space Center now, disappointing, but safety first. And she tweeted that launch will be rescheduled. She tweeted that at 4:38, Shady.
Yeah, and then 438 post happens to talk about SpaceX?
Yeah, it does.
No.
Yep.
Mike Rothschild's head just exploded.
It did. It did.
So did Dave Rockefeller.
Oh, they all exploded. So Q Post 438 talks about 2011 shuttle program terminated by Hussein. U.S. loses space dominance. So, there are people saying that don't understand that SpaceX and the NASA collaboration is happening because of your president today. This would not be happening. Period.
And it wouldn't even be close to happening.
Period. So then it talks about Iran nuke deal, NK nuke missile tech, SpaceX, NASA Tech 2, HRC's SAP's private server connected, money in pockets, guys. Eye of Ra, left eye, marker, symbolism, evil, stupid, justice, Q. Now, did you notice the launch is going to be on May 30th? Did you note the time, Shady?
3:22.
Boy, they couldn't stop saying 3:22 on the news yesterday.
No, they kept saying it over and over again like a mantra or like a spell.
I think it was right around Brett Baird. He's like 3:22, 3:22, 3:22, 3:22.
Yep, kept saying it.
3:22.
He's calling out, saying, "Please, please protect me."
And guess what? Guess what launch pad it's on, Shady?
Which one?
39A.
Colt 93.
Maybe. That's for Cyril Brain and LK to decipher.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Shill and Bones. I like that, Skull and Bones, Shill and Bones.
Shill and Bones.
So it's called The Dragon. It's on 39A. Launch time's 322. Symbolism, evil, stupid, justice, weather, interesting. I thought it was
17 minutes before cancellation.
Yep, and look at all the happy birthdays to Mama Matrix. God bless you guys. Thank you so much. I showed her this, and she's like, oh my God. So you guys made her birthday very, very special. Look at that, Shady. Isn't that neat?
Incredible.
Yeah. There's
love, love, love.
Yeah. So you guys are awesome. Thank you for that. She loves you all. Here we go right now. This is it. This is today, Shady. Let's just jump into today. And, geez, lots going on. We had Q posting during the first half hour of our show. He used to have a whole hour. So this is 5/28/20. This will be my thread for all Q posts Thursday, May 28th, 2020. Reconcile. Guess what time this Q post came out last night, Shady? 1:39.
93.
USA versus Japan, reconcile critical thinking. And it goes to this article right here in Newsweek. Japan ends coronavirus emergency with 850 deaths. No lockdown, Shady. No lockdown.
Oh, you mean they're not drawing circles on the ground and keeping people like away from each other and telling people they're not allowed to open their businesses and stopping and restricting their movements?
Nope. No lockdown.
And they only had 800 deaths from the COVID?
Well, 850, I believe it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think that they may actually have an accurate system in Japan.
You think?
Yeah, I think that sounds more realistic.
So if you were to critically think about this and reconcile the numbers, you would think that our numbers are incorrect. Is that correct?
That's exactly what I would think.
That's what I'm thinking too. Press 17 if you're in agreement that we need to reconcile our numbers. Are you guys with us? Or do you believe the 100,000?
I don't think it's even close to that.
When the CDC says 74,000 or something like that.
Well, now we're seeing the 81% of in Minnesota there. That's really, I think that's a telltale marker to say that, once the real numbers come in, we're going to find that upwards of 55, maybe 70% across most jurisdictions were from nursing homes.
That's right.
Because the numbers are going to come down. The people that died from other stuff, there's too many doctors out there that are going to talk about this. They're not going to be able to keep a lid on this, just like they're not able to keep a lid on whenever the General Flynn conversation with Kislyak comes out. Whenever we all hear that and see that there was nothing in there that he was saying that could be anywhere close to construed as working with the Russians, then the whole thing is going to get turned on its head.
Absolutely. And oh, by the way, this reminds me of something. Somebody talked about this. So my friend who's into Q said, oh my God, on my Q group, they're saying that the Q clock ends tomorrow. Oh my God, is this true? Is there no more Q after tomorrow?
I've seen a few other people. I've tried to calm people down.
I'm like, dude, you're on a shill group. First of all, the Q clock has never been queued.
Verified by Q.
Verified by Q. The Q clock is good for looking at old posts and all that other stuff.
Well, it was a way that we kind of worked together to come up with a clock that had the post so we could see which dates highlighted around the clock had the post, and we were trying to connect different timestamps when the president would tweet to specific posts. But really, in all reality, not a lot of that comes to fruition, but it's a very great tool to utilize for, say, a 1 year delta.
Yeah.
You can see that there were posts on this day last year or the year before. They're just going to add more rings around the clock. That was an arbitrary number picked by
and we did that already about a year ago. Oh my God, the Q clock was going to end. Oh, well, no, we'll just add more rings. So guys, first of all, Q clock has not been confirmed by Q. 2, Q is not run by a Q clock. Q is run by his clock.
Q team and POTUS.
That's right. There you go.
More than likely, more POTUS than Q team.
Exactly right. So Shady, why don't you go ahead and take this one right here, my friend.
All right, this is the one that came in this morning, expanding on the last drop. USA versus Japan apply. Let that sink in. It's quoting from the article. 42% of all COVID-19 deaths are taking place in facilities that house 0.62% of the U.S. population, nursing homes. Why did our nursing home population suffer a direct hit regarding COVID-19 deaths? New York and New Jersey governor orders push COVID-19 positive elderly to nursing homes. USNS comfort capacity, hospital capacity. What other Democrat governors mandated similar same orders? Ask yourself a very simple question. Was it known? common sense, and early medical reports, elderly community most at risk, why would 4 Democrat governors push COVID-19, COVID-2 infected patients into safe nursing homes? Ignorance is a choice. Q.
Boom. And that's
These
the article.
people are not stupid. They are very methodical and precise.
It's a death cult, Shady.
It is.
All right, so here we go again. This is expanding last drop. USA versus Japan apply. 43% of 100% nursing home death. CDC conflate 34 to 57% COVID-19 death data include pneumonia, influenza. Average pneumonia, influenza death per season. Why is the data constantly changing? Past. Sometimes a way back machine can find many Easter eggs. CDC data then versus now. Ignorance is a choice. Q. Wow, guys. So let's go.
But they're
to
fact
this one.
checking. They're fact checking Twitter.
That's right. And then this one came in just before our show as well. Cuomo killed my mom. Again, at what point should this be classified as murder? At what point is ignorance, common sense no longer valid excuse? Evil surrounds us. Q. And it goes into this town hall article. Michigan's hapless governor continues deadly COVID-19 nursing home policy. Shady.
It isn't stopping in Michigan. You seeing this, guys?
It's bad
So it's
enough
like-
that the governor, Andrew Cuomo, instituted that dangerous policy that forced nursing homes and long-term health care facilities to accept COVID-positive patients against their will. It's bad enough that the policy appears to have led rampant spread of coronavirus in New York nursing homes and tragically thousands of deaths in those facilities, guys. I mean,
And I'm pretty sure the 4 states we're going to be talking about are Pennsylvania, New York, Michigan, and Minnesota.
Michigan and Minnesota, exactly. Yeah. And maybe California, possibly. So, I don't know.
California hasn't.
Oh,
had
Washington
the spike.
State did too, right?
Right, Washington State did, but I'm not exactly sure if we had the governor of Washington State sending positive COVID patients to the nursing homes. I don't want to say that yet because I don't have verification of that. But for right now, we do know that Minnesota, Pennsylvania, New York, and Michigan have all made those mandates by the governors.
That's
and
right.
they put it right out there, bud. They made an order and they wrote it all out and they executed it. And now they're trying to backpedal, and Cuomo's all, oh, what about what the president did? Well, the president didn't send infected COVID patients to nursing homes. He sent you a ship so that you could use your hospitals for the COVID patients.
Yeah, interesting, right? Wow. All right, so there we go. So governors who forced the patients, let's name them by name. Thank you. Who did that? Passant, thank you. Governors who forced COVID-19 patients into nursing homes. You've got Andrew Cuomo, Gretchen Whitmer, Tom Wolf, and Gavin Newsom.
They are calling California, not Minnesota. But we did just get the Minnesota tally that said 81%. So
Yeah.
I think there might be others added to this. Like I said, I just don't have the confirmation that they made those
And isn't
orders.
it interesting, just do a little of your own due diligence and say, okay, let's look at the COVID deaths in a Democrat state and then a Republican state and see what you get.
I was seeing yesterday that out of, I think there was like a collection of 10 Republican states added up to the a third the amount that were in New York alone.
Wow.
So there's, these are hot spots for a reason. And just remember, de Blasio and Pelosi and Cuomo, they were out there at the end of March telling people that nothing was going on. It's fine. Continue to go out and continue to do what you're doing. And now they're saying the president didn't do anything. It's just like they create the mess and then they point to the mess and blame you for it.
Right. And 4 days ago, too, thank you to a person on the boards there, gunshot victims counted as Washington coronavirus deaths.
That's what I was referencing. We have gunshot victims
That's it.
in Washington State that are COVID deaths.
Gotcha. You might have said that, but I was like Googling it at the same time. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure that they had. I'm pretty sure that the murderer dipped the bullets in COVID first.
It's got the COVID.
It's got the COVID on the round.
Yeah, the bullet is, they have the COVID. All right, and then we went ahead and didn't we look at this one? This is the New Jersey healthcare. Yep, we talked about this. This is
we read this.
The memo that they deleted off of the New York. That's New Jersey. Excuse me, NewJersey.gov.health. Sorry about that. And that's their memo. And it's the executive order number 103 declaring public health emergency in Jersey as a result of COVID-19 in order to respond and increase positive cases. In order to respond to the increase in positive cases, there's an urgent need to expand hospital capacity. And that's how they did, switched it over to nursing homes, correct?
Sure is. And notice that's March 9th. Actually, the one I read was the next one. This one we didn't read, but you can see what he's highlighting here. That's what they were doing.
Yeah. Post-acute settings, receiving patients, residents returning from hospitalization, and accepting new admissions. And this is to the nursing homes, guys. Pretty sad when that's who it attacks the most. They put them all together and spread it, and maybe even counted non-COVID deaths to COVID deaths.
All
right?
to generate fear to justify shutting down the country and hopefully keep the country locked down until either the economy completely fails or election day.
That's right. And we did read this one from Congressman Perry. Shady, you did a great job reading that. That's the, at what point should this be reclassified as murder? At what point is ignorance, common sense no longer valid excuse? Evil surrounds us, Q. And then we've got this one here, USA total pop. We went through this one as well. 328 million COVID-19 deaths, 100,000 lockdown. Japan total pop, 126 million condensed island. COVID-19 deaths, 850, no lockdown. 2 + 2 = 5. Q. And then we've got this one right here. The truth is right in front of you, talking about nursing home residents account for 81% of the deaths in Minnesota, Shady.
Just a staggering number.
It really is.
Considering that, nursing home facilities are pretty much closed loop systems other than visitors. So it's very interesting how 81% of the people could be inside closed loop systems and 99% of the rest of the population is being forced to stay at home.
That's right.
Very weird.
And remember, guys, you are here. We are getting an executive order today. Mission 9, censorship. And how do we know? We know because of our POTUS. And we know because of Q. And we know because of POTUS and Q. Okay? This was 3/4/2018, guys. This is your mission 9. Remember, we were in the whistleblowers. Remember that. Q confirmed that we were at mission 8. And here we are, sitting today, right here with you, before 5 p.m., hopefully, according to Kaylee, an EO will be signed in regards to big tech censorship. And that just is not Twitter. It's everyone.
It's Google, it's Microsoft, it's Facebook, it's Amazon.
That's right.
It applies to all of these platforms, not only, even Netflix, I would imagine. Like, it's going to apply to all of these platforms that censor content and operate as some sort of neutral ground. Maybe not Netflix necessarily, but they don't allow anything that's counter narrative on their platforms.
Right. Jan says 35 new deaths today in Minnesota. Are they really COVID? That's my question. But I'm a conspiracy theorist, so they were saying 500 or something. Their big number in Illinois. Do I believe their numbers?
I don't.
It seems to me like the D states are fudging their numbers more. Okay, so this is Richard Grinnell.
I'm a French conspiracy theorist, so what do I know?
Yeah, I think it had to be done right. I think this has to be done in order to show people. Well, let's look at. We're talking about Swalwell, Shady. Speaking of passing gas when Joe Biden was talking to...
We hold these truths to be...
Get out of here. All right. Shady, so this is Richard Grinnell reporting, responding to Swalwell. Look at this.
Yeah, Swalwell and him have been going back and forth a little bit the last couple of days, and Swalwell writes, TikTok, those are coming? Well, you're no longer director, and the Flynn tapes never came. All you have to show for your work is the dirt on your boots from shoveling and burying evidence from real Donald Trump. And Richard Grinnell responds, they are coming. There's a thoughtful process to transparency. And for years, you went on TV spreading the Russian propaganda, knowing the entire time that not one single person under oath from your committee saw any collusion. Not one. It's shameful.
Period.
Exclamation point.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear from Swalwell. Let's hear what he has to
Chris,
say.
so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from Republicans all last week was that you don't have any...
What just happened there, Shady?
Oh, that wasn't you. That's not the video with the gas plume behind him.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the
cheat an election. All right.
He, like I said, he's talking the same language as Joe Biden yesterday.
I know. Oh my God. I didn't get that one up yet though. I didn't see Biden. Oh my God, dude. Was that his chair though, guys? Did you guys see it?
No.
Did you see it, Shady?
I did.
All right, here we go. Let's see.
We don't have to cut those teachers and firefighters, police officers, and cut critical health care programs, or stop work on roads and bridges. So what does the human cost? Teachers and firefighters, police
It sucks
officers,
to be the guy so
cut
low
critical
in
health
that,
care
in
programs,
that shot there.
or stop work on roads and bridges. So what does the human cost?
That doesn't sound very
It gives a new meaning to soft coup.
Yeah, I'm not gonna even touch that one.
Thank you.
I'm not. They're not even. No, not gonna do it.
I was trying to set you up.
Not gonna do it. Here we go. This is AQ time. Let's check this out.
We'll find out.
I'm absolutely outraged by what we're allowing to happen to our children. Humanity is judged on how you treat the weakest member of the society. Let me say that although pedophilia, which says child love, has nothing to do with the abuse of children, these children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world.
What's going to happen is going to really shock a lot of you. I don't think you understand how prevalent these pedophile rings really are in Hollywood and in the sports arenas, in Hollywood, in the political arena. I mean, everywhere, man. It's bad. I got to tell you, a lot of you don't like Trump, but he's doing the right thing right now.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
But this is the truth. There is a big sting operation going down. It's happening, and I'm telling you, man, these pedophile rings are getting taken down.
Boom. And by the way, got a joke here. Casey says, Joe doesn't go to church, but he sits in his own pew.
OMG.
Huh? Is that good? I liked it. I liked it a lot. By the way, remember iDrop Media who got queued recently, Shady?
Yes.
I think we inspired him here on this show. I want to show this with you guys here. It's pretty amazing. Remember this, guys. What part
I don't have to
reminds you of our show? Right here?
Everybody knows things are bad. He said we don't go out anymore.
Great job.
Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. I want you to get mad.
I was lightning before the thunder. Thunder, thunder.
thunder, lightning and the thunder.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
We are ready to fight.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore! We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
Thunder, feel the thunder.
There is a storm coming like nothing you have ever seen. Prepare for it.
You are ready.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
You, Patriots, are ready. What'd you think of that, guys? What'd you think of that, Shady?
That was spectacular.
That's iDrop Media really bringing the pain.
Knocking them out of the park.
Heck yeah. We got some great memers. iDrop just got cued with that Matrix meme with where we go, when we go all. That's just amazing. Video, right? Shady flashed in there. Everybody I knew flashed in there. It was amazing. You guys are just kicking it out of the park. Saul memes, another one that is just knocking it out of the park on the daily. And I'm sure I'm going to leave many off, but right now the Q time is knocking it out of the park, guys. Support these guys if you can. Support the show if you can. Shady, I think that's about all we got today.
Yes, sir. Looks like we're going to be wrapping it up, but thanks to everyone who supports our channel. Thanks to all of our Patreons out there and everybody else for literally using your credibility with your friends and family to stand up for the president and Q. We understand that that is a good way to generate some attacks and some sideways looks, but we appreciate your voice. Every voice that speaks to every person matters worldwide, guys. We got them right where we want them, trust me.
That's right, absolutely. And you have the power, you have the voice. I am really looking forward to seeing what the EO is for the social media, and we'll get that today later on. And Shady, I just got to let you guys know that I am going to need to have the day off again tomorrow, Shady.
All right, brother.
We got finally rescheduled to finish the move. We were moving. We got half of a house moved, and we need to get the other half because of COVID. So we're going to get that done tomorrow, Shady. Kind of looking forward to it so we can actually get back to life as normal.
Yes, sir. That sounds great, man.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're going to do a lounge tomorrow, but watch Shady's Twitter, and we'll get that out to you. He'll let you know about that. So guys, much love, Shady. I love you guys. We'll see you Monday for sure.
Much love, guys.
Much love. Catch you guys later, and thank you very much. Thank you to all the wonderful mods out there. And let's go with Brad's Matrix dance. How about that? Brad, this is from Out of Shadows. This is Brad Martin. I want to play this again.